I played Dracamar, a new platformer for Steam, developed by Platoon Studio, who actually gave me a key so I could play it early before its release. But what did I think of the experience? Well, let's get into it. The story overall is pretty simple. Basically, there's this flower that powers the land of Dracamar, or at least just gives it its general energy, which is stolen by King Drac. King Drac then uses this to turn all the creatures of the land, called Okies, into Mokies, clearly with the full intention to completely take over Dracamar. And it's our goal to stop them by collecting all these different seeds that we plant throughout the land, especially the 4 golden seeds, to get our way to Drac and get back the flower and give it back its energy that has been stolen from it. You know, kind of a symbiotic relationship. We give the flower its energy so it can go back to giving its energy to Dracamar. A fairly simple story overall, but I do like the little touches it does here and there. For instance, with the transformation of Okies into Mokies, or good people guys into bad guys, they do try to lay the foundation each time. Anytime you go into a boss fight, you actually interact with the characters beforehand as their good selves in a previous level, before being forced to fight them. It's nothing crazy, I do want to stress that, and at times the dialogue can be a little bit clunky, as I presume English isn't the developer's first language, but I still think it's a really nice touch, and at least helps to build on the world some more. And they're teasing a sequel, by the way, at the end, so I can see why they're trying to go out of their way to get things laid out so that you connect with the characters. Not only that, but you get this little pet, your Oki of your own, who gains a variety of powers throughout the game, allowing you to traverse levels, which we're going to get into some more. But near the end of the game, you end up having your Oki turned evil for a boss fight, and they actually utilize the level design in a really interesting way when it comes to the narrative. As you go to chase after them for the boss fight, you see all these different bits throughout the level, which realistically you would be using right now if it wasn't for the fact that your Oki had turned evil. So now as you're chasing your buddy, you have to go off the beaten track, and it just feels wrong. You see all these things that you're thinking, oh, I should be able to use that, I should be gliding through this level, but I have to weave my way around, take the back alley route, just to get to the boss fight. And it's, I think in my opinion, a really clever way of making the player feel a little bit more uneasy heading into that boss fight. One other interesting thing I've noticed is, with a lot of those boss fights, they completely cut the music in the build-up, which I don't know if it's, you know, which I have to admit does also help build that uneasiness. Even if sometimes the characters are a little bit too goofy for it to really be off-putting. Now, in terms of the actual level design and gameplay, I have to say, it was really kind of a breath of fresh air. Lately, it feels like a lot of platformers are either throwbacks to the Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 era, or they're pixel-perfect precision platformers, usually all of which have levels that last no longer than 5 minutes at the absolute most, usually lasting about a minute in length. The levels in Dracamar, however, are levels that will last 15 plus minutes, depending on how in-depth you're looking for collectibles, which you will need to do, as there are 2 types of collectibles. There are medals which are for 100% completion, and there are the seeds which you need to progress, as there are actual blockades that stop you from progressing until you've collected a certain amount of seeds and planted them. But not only that, the platforming is very rarely in any way difficult. Most of my deaths came just from my own hubris, as I would try to glide through and cheese things just to get a little bit quicker throughout the level, only for it to end in my own demise. There's actually a fair amount of movement options, so you're pretty much never going to struggle. There's a forward roll, which can give you a bit more forward momentum. You can double jump, and then do 2 spin attacks in the air if you want to stay up in the air a little bit longer, which is great if you're looking to jump across wide distances, which made a lot of the puzzle, which did admittedly make some of the platforming sequences quite trivial to get through. But one thing that I did adore is how open some of these levels felt. For instance, there's a city level in the game which managed to feel like an actual open world experience without being so wide that it felt overwhelming. It's one thing that I really did like about this game is the way that it hid its collectibles. A lot of the time, if you just make sure to keep looking around, the collectibles are very obviously placed, with very few of them actually being so obscure that you would think, oh, how was I supposed to notice that? Most of the time you're going to spot them, you go, oh, there it is, which I felt was, a nice little balance there. Overall, if you're looking for a difficult game, this won't be for you, but if you're looking for a cozy, casual platforming experience, I think this is really nice. Sometimes I've played very easy platformers just looking to get the kind of itch scratch that Dracamar now will scratch for me, so I have to admit that I'm actually quite enthused by this. Each level as well also feels notably different from each other. Sure, there can be some shared themes here and there, but no two levels feel completely the same, be it an open town, climbing a mountain, going through a farm that's going under a hailstorm, going through a market square where there's like all these bouncy roofs everywhere, jumping across logs across a river. There's a lot of variety in this game. The boss fights are, in my opinion, maybe a little bit more of a letdown as they are trivially easy. Given that they all take place in a Croc Legend of the Gobbos style boss arena, it doesn't get to benefit from the expansive space that the other Dracamar levels benefit from. One of my other nitpicks with this game is the voice acting. Most of the voice actors are fine, I do want to stress this, but I say people like, say, the voice actor behind King Drac did, in my opinion, underdeliver on some of their lines. That combined with the fact that I'm pretty sure English is not the first language of the studio making this game, it meant that some of the dialogue really didn't work quite as well as I think they were hoping. In terms of the graphics, I have to say I do think this game looks quite nice. While I don't know if I can say it's truly ageless, I imagine in 10 years' time it will start to show a little bit of that age, I do think it's a game that, even then, I still think will look pretty good. It just won't have that Wind Waker timelessness about it. But overall, I had a bunch of fun with this. Platforming throughout all these levels was a blast, and because it was a little bit on the easier side, when I was able to speed through sections, it just felt all the more rewarding. It felt like I'd gotten the chance to really experiment with the platforming. There are these bonus levels as well where you control a plane and it's kind of like a space shooter, or like 1942 where you're going along, and that's a fun little blast as well. There's just a lot going on here, and I think if you're looking for a nice, unique platforming experience, this is the one to go for in my opinion, as I don't think there are many platformers being made nowadays that are quite like this. Based on what I saw from Steam, it doesn't seem like this developer gets many opportunities to actually make their own games. Usually they make games for other IPs like Bratz, Peppa Pig, and PJ Masks. So I really think it'd be nice to support them on an original IP and see what they can do with a sequel in Dracamar 2, which they clearly want to do. Overall, I definitely had fun with this experience. I highly recommend checking it out as long as you're not looking for some pixel-perfect precision platformer and you're looking for maybe something a little bit more low-key and cozy and casual in its experience. I think you'll find something genuinely enjoyable in this, like I did. Full price is about $16.75, which is approximately $23 based on what I'm understanding. So if you think it's worth the money, then I'd highly recommend checking it out for yourself, and hopefully we'll get to see what the team can do with a potential sequel.